Dear colleagues, allow me to present the results of our study Artificial Intelligence Tools in the Visualization of Educational Materials, Teachers' Experience and Perspectives. This study is dedicated to analyzing how generative AI is becoming part of teachers' daily practice, particularly in the aspect of visualization. We will examine the experience of nearly 2,000 Ukrainian educators. Why visualization? According to Alan Pivio's dual coding theory, information encoded both verbally and visually is retained more effectively. In the context of war and distance learning, AI offers solutions for the rapid creation of contextual materials, overcoming the traditional constraints of time and resources. Our study covered a representative sample. The survey included primary school teachers as well as lower and upper secondary school teachers across all subjects. The largest share of respondents were mathematics teachers, 2.6%, physics, 1.4%, computer science, 0.2%, biology, 10% Ukrainian language and literature, 8.8%, chemistry, 7.7%, foreign languages, 6% geography, 4.5%, with the remainder teaching other subjects. Notably, 57.5% of respondents are experienced teachers with over 20 years of service. This allowed us to compare the approaches of different generations of educators to innovation. We did not limit ourselves to simple counts. The chi-square test was used to verify hypotheses, enabling us to establish statistically significant relationships between teaching experience and the intensity of AI tool use. The findings demonstrate a high level of engagement among Ukrainian teachers with AI tools. Nearly 90% of respondents have experience working with such technologies. This figure aligns with the latest global trends, including studies recording 83% use of generative AI among K-12 teachers in 2024-2025, and an increase from 51% to 67% in the United States between 2022 and 2024. The high figures can be explained by the specific Ukrainian context. The combination of forced digitalization during the COVID-19 pandemic and wartime conditions, the widespread distribution of digital devices, and intensive teacher training. However, the predominance of the occasionally category indicates that we are at the stage of technology adoption rather than its full integration into didactic systems. There is a statistically significant association between teaching experience and AI use frequency, but the correlation is weak, meaning experience explains very little of the variation. The share of non-users does grow with experience, from 18.4% among teachers with under 5 years to 29% among those with over 20 years. But this is a modest increase, not a dramatic gap. Teachers across all experience levels appear at every frequency level, from never to regularly. More experience makes teachers slightly more selective, but it does not drive outright rejection of AI. The digital immigrant stereotype oversimplifies a nuanced reality. The level of AI tool use for the visualization of learning materials, nearly 69%, is high, yet only 9.4% of respondents use AI regularly for this purpose. 15.6% do not yet use AI for learning material visualization, but plan to do so. These data suggest that in 2025, Ukrainian teachers were at the stage of mastering AI tools for visualization. Canva's leading position is explained by its low entry threshold. Notably, teachers who use AI regularly show significantly higher usage rates across all tools. For example, 84.2% of regular users work with Canva. Creating presentations remains a universal task for all groups of teachers. We observe a gradation. The more complex the task, for example, video, the fewer teachers involve AI in it, only 48.9%, even among regular users. The most striking finding is that the more frequently a teacher uses AI, the more critically they assess the result. Among regular users, 52.5% complain about factual inaccuracies, compared to 35% among those who use AI rarely. The identified issues with Ukrainian language support and the cultural relevance of visualizations confirm the conclusions of Lucioni and Viviano and Birhane et al. Regarding systemic biases in the training corpora of modern models. For Ukrainian education, this carries not only technical, but also axiological significance, as visual content is a powerful instrument for shaping identity and historical memory. The findings demonstrate a remarkable level of AI integration into Ukraine's educational space. Nearly 69% of educators are already using these technologies, which significantly exceeds the figures for EU countries and the United States in 2023 and 2024. This digital leapfrogging is explained by the specific context. Teachers were forced to rapidly master digital tools under wartime conditions and distance learning. Why do teachers choose precisely these tools? This is entirely consistent with Everett Rogers' diffusion of innovations theory. In an educational environment, technologies that do not require a radical change in established practices take hold most quickly. Canva and Gamma win over users with their intuitiveness and low entry threshold. Our study refutes the oversimplified division by age groups. Although teaching experience matters, it is not the determining factor. Far more important are the level of digital competence, institutional support, and personal readiness for change. Particularly interesting is the group of teachers with 6 to 10 years of experience. For them, AI has become a genuine resource for professional growth. At present, AI is perceived primarily as a service tool for speed. In terms of the SAMR model, this represents the substitution or augmentation levels of traditional methods. However, we need to make the transition from the technocratic question, how to do it faster, to reflective analysis. How does this visualization change the student's cognitive activity? The study's findings record an extraordinarily high level of AI integration into Ukraine's educational space. The figure of 69% is not merely high, it significantly outpaces data from the European Union in recent years. This dynamic is driven by the specificity of our context. Teachers were compelled to instantly master digital tools under wartime conditions and distance learning. The slide argues mass AI adoption is driven by low barriers to entry, not raw technological capability. What the chart shows, the x-axis represents accessibility and intuitiveness. The y-axis represents adoption rate. Two clear clusters emerge. High adoption upper right quadrant, Canva AI 50.8%, ChatGPT 3.7%, Gamma 31.5%, all familiar intuitive tools that slot into existing workflows. Low adoption, lower left quadrant, Midjourney 4.9%, and DALL-E 11.1%. Technically powerful but requiring standalone platforms and advanced prompting skills. Core insight. Teachers don't choose the most powerful tool, they choose the one that causes the least friction. Canva leads not because it outperforms Midjourney, but because teachers already know and trust it. Practical implication. If the goal is widespread AI adoption in education, the focus should be on reducing entry barriers and integrating into familiar platforms, rather than promoting the most technically impressive solutions. Our study dispels the myth that age or length of service constitutes a barrier. We found that the relationship between teaching experience and AI use is very weak. Personal readiness for change and institutional support come to the fore. Particularly important is the group of teachers with 6 to 10 years of experience, for whom AI is not merely a time-saving device, but also a resource for professional growth and creativity. At the current stage, AI is perceived by teachers predominantly as a service tool for speed and convenience. In SAMR model terms, these are only the initial substitution levels of traditional methods. Our key task is to make the transition to a reflective approach. We must ask not how to create materials faster, how does this visualization change my students' cognitive activity? The main challenge is not simply to teach a teacher to press buttons, but to develop pedagogical digital competence. The capacity to integrate AI into the learning process in a reasoned and purposeful manner. Identified deficits, 3 real obstacles, linguistic and cultural barriers, 22.8% report limited Ukrainian language support, 19.5% struggle with AI tools that lack understanding of Ukrainian cultural context. This is especially critical for humanities subjects where nuance matters. Technical limits, 36.7% are bottlenecked by free tier restrictions, making this the single largest identified barrier and a clear signal of underfunding. Reliability, 31.5% encounter inaccurate representation of scientific concepts, posing a direct risk to educational quality and student understanding. Recommended actions, 3 systemic responses. Training frameworks move beyond basic digital literacy toward advanced prompt engineering and ethical AI use. Localized tool investment, develop or subsidize AI models trained specifically on Ukrainian cultural, historical, and linguistic datasets. Methodological guidelines establish state-level standards to evaluate how AI-generated visuals cognitively affect students. Overall message, piecemeal fixes won't work. What's needed is coordinated, state-level intervention to make AI genuinely functional and safe within the Ukrainian educational context. At the same time, a question arises. Might it happen that we replace quality with quantity simply for the sake of convenience? Thank you for your attention.